Remember that they're changing my voice. One of the more key proofs that the Bible is figurative is Genesis 1. It says that in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, right? And we see in John 1 where it says in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So what it's talking about is God created the heavens and the idea of the earth, right? The spirit of the earth that's right with God. Not the earth after it's been falling out of grace. The earth in a sense symbolizes like the flesh of people to some degree in a sense, but not my flesh. And they have no right to damage my flesh. So God then says, okay, that he wants his spirit to hover over the waters, right? So he makes his spirit hover over the waters. And the water stands for righteousness. It stands for the peoples, the nations, the multitudes, the languages. We know this from Revelation. So you see, it's figurative right away. Then God says, let there be light. And for those of you who are doubting this right now, you'll see that I'm right shortly. God says, let there be light. Okay? And he says he's going to separate it from the darkness. Now, when the sun goes down, is there some kind of spiritual barrier separating it? Is there a barrier in outer space separating the light from the darkness? No. So that's against science. So if you were to take it literally, then you would have to be, you'd be forced to the conclusion that the Bible is wrong. So it must be figurative. And we know this for many reasons. The scribes in the Bible are more or less equal to each other. They have no way of knowing exactly how the world was created. And if they did, why would they leave it in such simple terms? Why not explain it to a larger degree? And the light that Christ is talking about is the light of justice and righteousness, Isaiah 51:4. It's the light of vindication, also in Isaiah. The light of the Spirit of God. The true light of the world is the true light of God, of righteousness, of moral precision, in the essence of what the world is supposed to be. Okay? Just like, a caterpillar sheds its skin and becomes a butterfly. Okay, or a snake sheds its skin. We see this as a pattern in nature. Humans, their skin falls off all the time. You don't see it, but your skin is falling off all the time. The earth is like the leftover skin from your body. This is not where God is going to establish his kingdom. And God separates the light from the darkness using martial art principles. Monotheistic. Afro-Asiatic, if you will, but really African martial art principles, as Hebrew is an Afro-Asiatic language, and the waters represents the languages, the peoples, the nations, the multitudes. It is not speaking American or English or French or Chinese, it's speaking African. So God's language is where we all come from. It's African. I'll debate you on this anytime. There's no other way to look at it. Any other way to look at it is false. You'd have to be insane. There's no other sane way to look at it. So God separates the light of justice from the darkness of stupidity. The light of courage from the darkness of cowardice. And people only acting based on a complex and falsehood instead of, acting based on what's right. And that's part of what sparring shows us. Sparring shows us who, what, when, where, how, why. When do you strike and why? What kind of wisdom did you use to train for the match? What kind of discipline and focus and timing and speed? What kind of heart and courage? What kind of state of being are you in when you spar that person? Spar it is spirit, and it must be done in nature to truly get to the spirit. As the light worker might say, and again, I'm not into that stuff at all, but they might say, you have to be grounded, right? You have to be on the ground, the earth, and not the concrete jungle. Not the concrete jungle's concrete, or the turf that they use in the Olympics or in a martial arts school indoors. That is truly how you spar. Lots of martial artists understand this to some degree because they often take pictures in nature doing different moves and on the side of a cliff doing some kind of fancy stance, what have you. God did not include your specific systems in the light. That's something you came up with. In the beginning was the Word. Psalm 19, the heavens proclaim the glory of God. The skies are speaking in words that are not human words, is what Psalm 19 is saying. They pour forth speech, right? They're pouring to draw water, to pour water. The sword of Scripture, drawing the sword, drawing on the Spirit of God as you draw the sword of Scripture. In the beginning was the source that was made accessible to people. It was meant for people to draw on the Spirit of God for martial power. And martial is marital scrambled for a reason. So in the beginning was the source of martial art power that God made for mankind. It's David and Goliath. They didn't have a science fair or a spelling bee or a wrestling match. Sparring shows transferable skills for actual mind, body, soul, spirit combat. The churches and them have no viable counterargument. Nor do they have a viable counterargument for my legal and peaceful top martial arts challenge, which has proven that I am the first and the last, the beginning and the end, the Son of God. They don't interpret the Bible correctly to understand the characteristics of the Son of God. And they're in the repetition of evil and speaking falsehood to save their own skin, when the way is the truth and a morally precise life. The life that I have led, not anyone else, including the church fathers, including the scribes who wrote the Bible. In the beginning, before the scribes were even, in their mom's womb, was the Word, was the martial art draw. Before the Bible, I am. Before Abraham, I am. Before Israeli war tactics, I am. And I am the true warrior spirit of God and the true Son of God. And eternal punishment to the extreme of anyone who even utters a whisper of rebellion against me.